This is the Healey Brothers Show.
This is our monthly automotive news wrap up. It's me just saying that we're going to go over some of the stuff for our brands that, well, I guess the GM one's kind of our brand, kind of not, but some of the stuff that they released and talked about within the month of November. We got stuff about the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer, stuff about the gas-fed Charger, which shame on me, I didn't know was a thing. Got some news about the Pacifica, Mitsubishi buying back shares, Ford Bronco news, Chevy Silverado getting the crab walk, but they call it something different, and GM and Formula One. So first one we'll talk about is what Jeep is changing for the 2025 Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. A lot of it's price related, some of it's features.
Yeah, so Jeep just in general is going through a little bit of restructuring. They have a new CEO for North America.
I did see that.
Antonio Filosa, if I'm saying his name right, probably not, but so they are changing some things. He's more aggressive. He wants to slash prices.
Was he in the company beforehand? Or he come from elsewhere?
No, I believe he was in the company before, and I have to double check that, but I'm almost 100% sure. But he's pretty, from what I've heard and read quickly, he's the real deal. So I think he'll make some changes. What the issue is, I think, with Jeep that went wrong is they tried making this Wagoneer into a crazy luxury product.
Just wasn't there.
Yeah, and I just don't think the Jeep buyer was there. And granted, I think Jeep is a phenomenal product. As you can see, I drive a Jeep, I drive Stellantis products, and but I think they're headed in the right direction, and they are. You can see it now. They're slashing prices. They're coming down to where the consumer is that wants that Wagoneer. Is there a market for that big SUV? Yeah, I mean, Chevy's proven it, and GMC, you have Navigator, you have all these brands that
They've
are
all
doing
proven it, yeah.
Yeah, so they've all proven it. The product's there, but their price point from jumping from, say, a Grand Cherokee to the Wagoneer has to be closer. They have to lower it
Way
down.
too much prior.
And they're adding certain specs, like certain stuff in it and technology in it that it's needed. So
The technology was there, but maybe this is coming down to earth with their prices. They're just adding them as standard features.
exactly. So
Right, so
which
rather
what a
than
lot of
having
brands are doing.
They're dropping the prices, and then rather than the customer also then having to pay extra to get these served features, they're now standard.
Which you can see as technology becomes more and more adaptable, it becomes less and less expensive, and they're realizing the consumer needs all this
That's not how to
included.
do with their self-driving.
So I think they're headed in the right direction here.
That's how to do the same thing. They couldn't, not enough customers are paying $10,000 out of pocket for full self-driving, so now you can pay, I want to say it's like a couple $100 a month, even if that, right? So Tesla had to come back to earth with their technology. They were like, hey, people aren't dishing out $10,000 cash to come buy our full self-driving. So they had to come back down to earth with their technology. So it happens across the board.
Yeah, I mean, but Jeep really needed it. So,
Yeah.
so they needed it. Like I said, they're heading in the right direction. Also, another big move was their CEO stepped down. He's resigning a couple days ago, actually.
Yep.
So his contract was 2026, but dealers came around. The brand is just struggling right now. It's still got a great product, but I think this move will really, really get a lot of momentum.
Do they vote on those things?
Well, so he decided to resign, but so they have a board of directors that go on, and obviously the dealers have some input. They didn't like what he was doing, but where this is going, I just think is a good overhaul for Stellantis and for them going back to a beast in our economy. So, I mean, it's gonna help us. I mean, they just tried, I think the biggest thing we talked about before is try to jump that price gap way too much during COVID. I mean, they were the highest increases of any brand, any major market brand. So I think they're getting a reality check, but I think it's really good for the brand, and the brand's really going to turn around, and Jeep and Ram are going to go back to a top sellers for us for sure. I mean, the product's so good. My brother just picked up his Grand Cherokee, and I was in it the other day, and I was like, wow, I mean, this car still got it. I mean, as you know, I can't hardly live on Jeep.
So the actual price cuts, so the Wagoneer got, the base Wagoneer, not that they're very base, but the base Wagoneer dropped
I wouldn't call them very base, calling them bases. Like,
3,000, and the Grand Wagoneer actually dropped by 7,000 for their entry models. All right, so the Wagoneer you can get in for just about 62,000, and the Grand Wagoneers, I mean, it's still pricey, but it starts at 87,000 as opposed to.
it's a little more realistic.
Over
Obviously,
90. I didn't realize the Grand Wagoneer started over 90,000. I didn't realize
you
that.
can get them up for 100.
Yeah, well, that's in this thing. It says I think the top of the line one's like 105.
Yes. So we have Wagoneer at home, and I love the product. We put some
Wagoneer or
things-
Grand Wagoneer, out of curiosity.
Wagoneer.
Okay.
Wagoneer. And they're beautiful cars. Just that price point. It's steep, but
Yeah.
reality check, and I think it's only going to get better. And they're going to put more incentives on them because that brand is iconic. So
Yeah. So now for the standard features that they added, right? So price reductions. Standard features matter more on the Wagoneer than the Grand Wagoneer, because the Grand Wagoneer, for people who don't know, that's not the bigger length. The Grand Wagoneer is like the step up.
It has everything already.
Even though they don't have like for GM and for Ford, right? Like they can have the Expedition, but then they have Lincoln that they can make the luxury Navigator. Chevy or General Motors has the Suburban, but then they have Cadillac and GMC that they can make the price jump to have luxury. So Jeep just did it under one roof. That's why they have the Wagoneer and then the Grand Wagoneer.
Which I think was a downfall for them. They didn't do it the right
think
way.
so?
Yeah, I think that hurt them. But now they're, like I said, this guy sees the writing on the wall and he
They
goes.
didn't have a different option. It's not like they had a luxury brand.
They
to
didn't,
add
but
that.
they jumped the consumer. Like when consumers come back in for their vehicles, right? You start with the Cherokee, and you move your way up to Grand Cherokee, and then it was just like a $20,000 jump. Like people just can't.
Yeah.
They don't progressively. It's when they get married, they have kids, and then that jump, they're just like, I can't
afford
get,
it.
I can't get to that price. Like, so, and they want it to be that luxury brand inside another brand. I just don't think that works well. And I mean, it's proven over time, but I think that segment is there for them. They just gotta get the right mix of price.
So you think the Wagoneer would be just a better version of the Grand Wagoneer?
Yeah, I mean,
If you
don't get me
will,
wrong.
yeah.
There's still a market for the Grand Wagoneer. It's just a hard step. They gotta get a little more reality check with that pricing. I think they'll be fine with both of them.
But so the standard
If the
features-
market is there for that car, it is. So it's just you gotta find the right mix.
The right people, yeah. The standard features that are added are adaptive cruise control and active lane keep assist. Those are really the main ones, because that's standard on the Wagoneer that have come, so you don't have to pay extra. It starts $3,000 less than they added these features. The Wagoneer and the Wagoneer L, I don't know what size their wheels were prior. Now they're standard at 20-inch. And then for the Grand Wagoneer, the standard features that they added were both or the driver's seat already was, but the front passenger seat has memory seats now. That's now a standard feature. The in-dash screen that's on, they have it for just the passenger, has a little screen in front of them on the dashboard. The driver can't see it. I don't remember all the features that it has, but now it's in front of the passenger. That was a feature. And pay extra for that. Now that's standard on all Grand Wagoneers. So and I think the wheels jump out, 22 inches is standard? So even the Grand Wagoneer dropped $7,000 in price, but then added 3 features that you no longer have to.
More for less. Sounds better to
Yeah, 100%. And then the Grand Wagoneer, I don't know if it's on the Wagoneer or the Grand Wagoneer, it didn't specify, but the horsepower jumped by 30. It's the same twin turbo inline-six, but instead of pushing out 510 horsepower, it pushes out 540. So even though it's not a V8, it's got a lot of power. It's a Hurricane twin turbo like inline, so.
People also forget that, and don't get me wrong, I love a V8. I'm a big V8 fan, but they make these motors so much more efficient and so much power with these little turbos and stuff like that. I mean, the response time's even better. So people always get rose, it's only a V6. The V6 comes with a lot of punch and a lot of torque, so.
And the inline V6s are special. Like if people, there's a difference between inline and V6, instead of them being side by side for a V6, they're all a row. Think about how many years BMW used an inline six, right? From like the late 90s to the mid 2010s, right? They used an inline six in all of their 3 Series and then the 4 Series when it first released, and they pushed out a lot of power. Especially when they added the turbos for like the M models and 1XX. Some of the M models used to just be beefy V8s and the M3s, but they used inline sixes for a long time, probably close to 15 years. They used an inline six, and that was like iconic for BMW. So the inline sixes are a special engine, like they're cool. So it's pretty cool that Jeep uses one of those, because I just remember all BMWs used to have inline sixes, them and BMW push out crazy power from those things. So inline sixes are special engines. They're not like a V6.
Oh, it's like when people get with the F-150, it's a little different, but the EcoBoost is a phenomenal motor. Like the models changed the way
And
you
that's
think
a
about it.
4-cylinder.
Yeah, so like it's
Well, I guess not the Raptor. That's a 6-cylinder.
that's a 6-cylinder Raptor, yeah. But the motor produces a lot of power. It's shocking when you're in those vehicles.
Well, I mean, like the Dodge, right? So or Ram, the TRX. It's not TRX anymore, but they got rid of the V8 in it. And they added one of these Hurricane 6 twin turbos, and Stellantis' goal was to have it push out the same power figures as the V8 that was in the TRX prior, and it does. So I know it's because of them and their emission standards that switched from a V8 to a 6-cylinder.
They're spending a lot of money. They're spending a lot of money.
Yeah, they were spending a lot of money because of all that. But they did it. They have a 6-cylinder inline-six in the new TRX. I wish I could remember what it's called. But push out the same horsepower as the V8 did. So they still pushed out a lot of power. But for the next thing, this was shame on me for not even, either I didn't remember or I didn't know that the Charger was still going to have a gas fed.
Well, yeah, because it falls under. Everyone's talking about the new Charger that's coming out. That's all
The
electric,
EV
EV,
Daytona,
and all,
yeah.
yeah. So that usually trumps everything, and everyone's like, oh, the technology and all that stuff. So it kind of falls on the radar. But yeah, they still have it. I mean, I even forget about it that they'll still do it.
Yeah, I don't
Also,
remember.
you might see some different changes, obviously, with what goes on politically, because some are starting to go all EV.
Yeah, it was
Might
weird.
be-
Car and Driver, there were certain EVs that were still petitioning to the new campaign, asking them to keep the EV standards. Some automakers were asking them, like petitioning to lower the EV standards. And I don't remember which brands were actually asking them to keep the EV standards.
Yeah, well, Toyota was against, wants them to lower and be more realistic because some of these
Toyota's
motors
all
are
about
very efficient. Granted, I think EVs are going to come and be the future down the road, but a hybrid right now is what the consumers
world.
want, and you can't just take away what consumers want. You're
I
like,
was having to explain what a hybrid was to my grandma this weekend. She was like, "What are they exactly?" And I was like,
Grandma wants the V8.
she doesn't drop it. But I was like, it depends on what type of hybrid. It's either just a regular hybrid that utilizes motors at the wheels to help with your efficiency, or it's a plug-in hybrid that has a small battery. And I'm like, there's different hybrids, but that's what people want. So what it is, it's the Dodge Charger Sixpack. That's what they call it, right? The EV one's the EV Daytona. This is called the Sixpack. And obviously the 6 is there for a reason, because it's a 6-cylinder. But so what their news was about it, and obviously what it does is they use that same twin turbo Hurricane 3-liter inline-six, but they're having the sales, they're having it come earlier. I guess it was supposed to be late in the year 2025, and now they're trying to push it to the middle of 2025 for us to start getting those cars. I think, if I remember correctly, some of it was because of the delay with the EV Daytona, because electric cars sometimes take a long time to develop.
Especially coming from that brand because they haven't really got much
truck.
to do with it yet.
The pickup trucks, I think, been delayed before.
Just a
Ram.
few years.
Was it last year, 2 years ago? I think it was last year's auto shows when they revealed it, but think about, we're already a year past that, and I don't think there's really a exact release date for their electric.
I mean,
pickup
same with the
trucks, so
Silverado EV.
It took a long time, but that's just what it is. That technology is new to them, so it's going to take a while for them to develop. So I think some of it was the delay on them actually releasing the EV Daytona, and it was Dodge consumers wanted a Charger again, so it's easier for them to up the production date for the gas Charger than it's going to be to up the production date.
Because they were
for
building
EV.
them forever, so.
Yeah, so they're going to be able to do that, but so I'm excited to see those come in earlier, middle of the year, right? So it still looks just like that EV Daytona does. You could see the differences in like the front end because they don't have that weird like arrow in the front. It has like those holes for the arrow in the front of the EV one. So this one doesn't have it. So you can tell the difference of which one's gas fed and which one's EV. So that's going to come middle of the year. As for the horsepower specs, to prove that they still push out a lot when you get the gas fed one, either 420 or 550 horsepower. So it still produces a lot of horsepower, but no pricing yet, but it'll be here. Car Driver projects it to start around like 40 something is their guess, which is actually pretty good. It sounds accurate, because if I look at like the V6 Camaros and whatnot before they stopped making them, that's like the price point of where they were, and even the past like Chargers. So starting at 40 sounds pretty accurate, but Dodge didn't announce the prices. They will probably announce them soon, being that they're trying to have release in the middle of 2025, and we're now a month away from 2025. So I'm sure they'll release the pricing fairly soon. But
Yeah, I
have
mean,
you seen the pictures of it?
I saw a couple quick pics of it, but you're gonna have to put it on the screen for sure. But
It looks
the one that
like
takes
the
over my
EV
feed right
Daytona.
now is that EV is still all over my feed. But
They're probably the thing that has delayed them the most is their exhaust, the Fradsonic exhaust chamber. They've made, I think, 2 changes to it already. Because, they bring it to a show, they have people listen to it, they probably got negative feedback, then they brought it back to the drawing board, how can we make this sound different? So I think that Fradsonic, exhaust chamber has delayed their process with the electric one, just because of feedback of what it sounds like.
yeah, what I really want from Stellantis is them just to get their act together a little bit. They're
trying.
Yeah, they are, and I think they're, like I said, headed in the right direction. And they need to have a nice mix of gas, EV, and plug-in hybrid, and I think they'll just be fine.
Yeah.
and keep producing really good products at the right price. They need to get back to their roots when they were
back
4
to
or
the
5
roots,
years
the
ago.
Charger's a coupe again.
Yeah, so 4 or 5 years ago, they just need to. They were really locked in and need to get back to that path of where they were, and obviously monitor where consumers are at, not try to do something crazy
As
or
you said, when they
price
were
it up.
locked in, they were paying a ton in, what is it, fines?
Yeah, well, fine, but they were paying those fine. Well, they were paying for EV credits, because
paying a
they
ton.
didn't have the emission credits, whatever they're called. But
Oh, that I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
They have to get the credits. Yeah.
yeah, so they had to pay for them, but they had a great product, great price. So if they can get back to that and focus on that, I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ever stop buying them. I don't think my dad will. So
You'll buy the 6-cylinder one?
well, I'm not a Charger guy, but they're Jeeps and stuff like
Fair
that.
enough. That is true. You're not. Your dad is.
They're trucks and stuff. I'm a Ram guy though at heart, so I like the Ram over the Silverado and F-150. So that's just what
Yeah.
I like.
Next thing from Stellantis is the Pacifica.
Which I've had.
Not a lot for it, but they're doing a complete redesign for the 2026 models, right? Redesign. I'm assuming it's going to be a whole new model, not just like a facelift. I mean, this Pacifica. I think my family used to rent them on vacations like 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
well, they had the plug-in hybrid right now, so it's like
But when they redesign it, they're gonna have an all electric one, so not just a hybrid anymore. Which I'm assuming they need, right? They need another full electric car. So, I mean, it's the only car Chrysler has. So they're trying to do something with it.
Yeah.
So not just redesigning it. Now they're gonna have probably a gas-fed one, the hybrid, and a full electric one. So, and it's going to be on the same platform that the pickup truck's on, that the Charger's going to be on. It's going to be on the same platform, just like GM uses the Ultium platform for all of their models.
yeah, all the
same
OEMs
platform.
all the OEMs do it. It's for efficiencies. And,
Yeah, so it's going to be on the same platform. Maybe they'll produce similar power from it. I don't know, but that's really all was the Pacifica that they're doing a redesign 2026.
Yeah,
and when they do
I
it,
think
they're
it's good
gonna
to add another
electric
EV
model.
model just to see where the market's at with it. It's a hot product here and there when it's priced right, and it seems to be being priced right. And
I mean,
because-
is it the only minivan left?
no, well, I don't know if Kia even calls it, but Kia has the one too. So
Oh, the Carnival?
yeah,
they still
no,
produce that?
no, it's called something else now, right?
No, I think it's the
Is
Carnival.
it the Carnival still? Yeah, but they have one too.
Cause I don't know, maybe Honda does for.
No, Honda does.
Oh,
sure.
yeah. So if you think about that, that's only 3 left on the market. Every brand used to have a minivan, right? So it's their own segment.
Yeah, it is still the Carnival. Yeah, but
There's not a lot.
there
in
was
that
one
segment
point where we
anymore.
couldn't get enough Carnivals to sell. Like it was.
But there's just not a lot in that segment.
Exactly.
If you want a minivan, there's just not a lot for you. Think about that off the top of our head. There's only 3 brands that make a minivan anymore. So it's just not really there. Toyota might make the Sienna. I'm not really sure. But so they're trying to do something with it. Let's move on to the one thing from Ford with the Bronco.
Another good thing, Ford's getting their act together too and getting the pricing right.
I didn't know they got rid of the base trim last year.
Yeah.
For the Bronco, but they're bringing it back. I'm assuming this is just from consumers' feedback.
Yeah, they're paying attention, so it's good. It's a good start, and they're getting back on track. They're starting to really compete again. The dealers are really loving what they're doing. So from our perspective, we've never really faltered at Ford. We have that F-150. We're a big truck area.
They sold them. They sold the Broncos regardless.
Yeah, we sold them, but now like the pricing was just off for the consumer. Their leases were higher than GM and Chevy, so it really affected them. And now, like I said, they've listened to their dealers. Our executive GM is on the dealer council, and he says they're really listening. They're coming together with the consumer. They're listening to the consumer, which is you have to do to sell vehicles. So
No, you
that's
definitely
good to
do.
hear. And the pricing, seeing more and more pricing adjustments and more models to get people into these cars is where it needs to be. The better leasing, the better rebates, and this is one thing that they've done with the last few months that have drastically changed.
Because now you can get one just under 40.
And they backed off the full EV, which is just crazy. To have Farley come back down from trying to be Elon Musk. I don't think anyone could be Elon Musk. So that's it. That's a good part too. And I think he really started to understand and listening to people, which is huge. And I've also heard great things of him showing up to the dealer meetings and sitting down there for hours and talking it through with dealers and stuff like that. So that's a big.
Who, Musk?
No.
it was a
Farley,
what?
Farley. Not
Oh, okay.
Musk.
I was gonna say, why did he show
No,
up?
no.
Let's see.
Farley.
It
'Cause they're
starts
talking about Ford.
Yeah, it starts under 40,000. I mean, it's not a drastic price difference compared to the cheapest one in 2024. It's only $1,600, but I think the idea was to get it under 40,000. But they did the same thing that Stellantis did. It's cheaper, but they added more base features. Because Broncos, you could have had an 8-inch digital gauge cluster or even a physical gauge cluster they still had in the base Broncos. Now they're all going to come with the 12-inch, if you want to say driver
Which is a huge
infotainment.
selling point for the consumer.
It was based on the Raptor. I don't know if it was the only one that it came on, but in the article it was saying that the screen is coming from the Raptor. So you can save $1,600 and you get a cooler display in front of you. So that's all they added in terms of what they added into it as standard.
The center dash is a huge selling
This
point.
isn't
for a
the
lot of
center
consumers.
dash. This
No, I mean the
Yeah.
cluster is a huge selling point for certain consumers. Like it really does matter. Like the appearance of it, like it locks me in.
Not a lot of cars still have physical speedometers, so I didn't know that some of the base Broncos still had physical speedometers. It's not a very common thing anymore. I mean, think about it. GM's EVs and a lot of their new cars, it's all standard to have digital. Hyundai, most of their cars, I mean, I think they still might have some physical. A lot of them are digital.
Just talking Hyundai, kid, just their technology for the price is just sub.
Yeah, they're unbelievable. So most of them nowadays are digital gauge clusters for the driver. So physical is like, it's like no longer a thing anymore. So they're getting rid of it. If you buy a Bronco,
It's probably an intelligent move.
it is for sure. And so now if you buy a Bronco, it's going to have it. And then the other thing was rear climate control vents, because with Broncos and Jeeps, it's not a common thing with their roofs coming off and stuff.
Well, yeah, everything comes off them, so they keep all the electric very simplified in one
Exactly.
area.
So they don't really have electric. They don't. I mean, not electric. They don't have rear climate control vents, but they're adding them. I don't know where they're adding them. My guess is just probably on the back of the center console.
Yeah,
because
I would imagine it has to go there because that's the only electric they really put in those
They're not gonna
vehicles
be able to put
because
it up
because
above
everything's
anything.
like people that buy these vehicles realistically we take all their stuff off it. So I mean,
It's
if
not.
you're gonna buy, it, you might as well use it.
Yeah, it's not generally a concern for them to have rear
But
climate
it, but
control vents.
it's a
something
nice
they're
little
adding.
feature, especially in the winter now. It gets cold and
That's true.
because a lot of these people are also have kids now and they put their kids in the back and stuff like that. It's not just for the people that like to rip the doors off. It's
Did
more.
he ever take his doors off?
His Bronco?
Yeah.
His Bronco wrapped. That's a great question. I don't think he has.
Every time I saw it, it never had the doors or anything. I mean,
He didn't drive it that much. He
He
loved
would
it.
have to drive on the highway. That'd probably be a pain to.
We do a lot of driving, so.
I never really thought about that. Being that I never saw it like that, that would probably not
Well,
be.
he
fun.
does when he's back in obviously where he lives. He drives it. He drives a lot then Austin and dinner and around, but it's more like local driving. So, I don't think he would even have anywhere to put the doors unless he took them off at the store and drove it. But
Yeah, but imagine him taking them off and driving on the highway to go to work. I can only imagine the.
summer's not too bad.
No, I'm saying the wind.
My
noise.
dad does. My dad takes those things off and just drives it. He doesn't.
The
care.
wind noise on the highway has to be crazy.
especially with the big tires. Probably really loud.
It's gotta be crazy having no doors off. But that was the one thing from Ford was just that they added the base trim back to the Bronco.
It's a good start in the right direction. Listen to consumers. So I know it's not drastic, but it is a huge point, and it really does help you get into a price range with competing against other brands you compete against.
Yeah. So how do you want to talk about the thing with Mitsu?
Okay, so the thing with Mitsu is a little confusing. Obviously, Nissan was a big investor in Mitsu,
They
and
had a 34%.
exactly.
ownership.
So they did it because Mitsu wanted some help. They wanted to try to efficient. They were working on efficiency, some technology sharing, try to get a better lease. Even though they didn't really ever come out with a good lease, that's great for Mitsu like compared to Nissan. But Nissan's been in trouble. Mitsu's been in actually pretty good place. They solidify. Granted, they don't have a high volume, but they're not in a bad place for.
They also
nothing's
make
not
other
bad.
technology though for homes.
And I drive a Mitsubishi Outlander almost every day.
You do?
Usually a frame rate feeder. Well, 90% of the time.
Is it the hybrid one?
No, it's not the hybrid one.
Okay.
It's a little bit older one. I think it's 2 years old. I'd have to look. But Nissan is in a little bit of trouble. They came out and said I think 12 to 14 months last month, and they're going to be possibly bankrupt. That being said, they're saying that they do somehow usually figure it out. In Nissan, it's that entry market kind of buyer there.
Brands have gone bankrupt before. GM
Yeah,
went
yeah.
bankrupt,
But,
they have
but
now.
Nissan's a Japanese brand. It's not an American.
American,
one, so,
yeah.
So it's a little different. That being said, there's rumors that Honda's going to invest in them and help them out. If that happens, that's great for both brands, Nissan and Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi purchasing this back is just protecting themselves.
Okay, about 10% back.
But that's really how that works. Nissan, I'm sure there'll be some changes, especially if they get Honda to invest. That's just upgrading your brand in about 2 seconds because it's one of the greatest brands in the world.
If you can get Honda to invest.
But that's some rumors. So
see, about 10%.
this
shares
is
back.
the only way you're going to really see is their sales are down. Their pricing seems to be coming back around, but it's only time will tell. They have to get their act together pretty quickly because 12 to 14 months of existing can go by really, really
not a long
quickly.
time.
They just lost faith with some of the technology in their product, the reliability in the product. They just not the best leadership, I would say. I guess right now we could say that Healey's lucky not to have a new Nissan franchise.
Yeah.
But like I said, these Japanese brands seem to figure it out. They'll partner with people. They'll turn it around, and you never want to see a manufacturer go down. It's good to have other products in the market.
Definitely. So, I mean, if I want to talk down on Nissan when they would be at the auto show, it's pretty pointless. Their biggest display would be a GTR model that was on its way out, that's been around for 14 years. Then they would have an R34 Skyline above it, like it'd be on like a 2-tier thing. So like, what's the point of that? People
Confuse people.
But people go to the auto show to like, display new products or display current products. So you have a
Futuristic products.
you have a GTR on display that's going out. It was there 2 years in a row, the same one. It was its last year of them producing them, right? So what sales are you going to garnish from that being there? Then you have an old 90s GTR above it. You don't make those anymore. What's the point of your auto show display? It's not helping with your sales. Well, you know what I mean? So like that's where I always found their display at the auto show.
Believe me, I don't think they're in a good place right now. They know it, but they came out and said and been straight up front with what's going on and how they're going. So
I mean,
I wish
even
them the
though-
best of luck. Mitsubishi protecting themselves, I think it's good. Obviously, we have a Mitsubishi brand, and that, I really think that product's great. It never breaks. It's very reliable. It is
The
priced
Mitsus.
pretty fairly. Do they have a great lease payment? No, but they do have a very affordable payment for you to get into, and you really got to think. The
I
cars
mean, I
don't.
think they're cheaper than all our other brands.
They are, but like a good lease on them is very important in our area. Like we're a big leasing market, so that really helps the consumer, and it's cheaper for other brands we have. But their reliability is phenomenal. They have a great warranty backed by the manufacturer.
Yep. I think they're just behind Kia's warranty.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff for that product. I think them separating themselves a little bit from Nissan for the time
Well, they
being.
did announce Mitsu did still say they are going to continue to collaborate moving forward.
Yeah, no, but
even though they brought
they're
back
just protecting
10%,
themselves. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a little bit of protection, saying like, hey, we can survive, kind of a thing, and we're just fine. And I think Mitsu will be just fine.
Yeah. So the EV Silverado, right? Hummer and we sold a good amount of EV Silverado last month because they're cool looking. When me and Duke
they're
made
techs.
me and Duke made a funny, joking advertisement on it to make a little dig on the Cybertruck. We cut a box into a triangle, so I made an advertisement on it. Duke said it doesn't look like a box, and then we like panned to the box that was cut into like a triangle. But that's the thing, is that it looks awesome. Don't get me wrong, I like the Cybertruck.
Well, you're a Tesla guy, unfortunately.
My entire family hates it. They think it looks stupid. My mom saw one on the road. She's like, what the hell is that thing? She's like, it's the dumbest thing. I'm like, I think it's cool. She's like, that thing looks stupid. But so people love the Silverado because it looks awesome. It doesn't look like a box. People love it.
Like I said, it is a big, tanky
I
truck.
didn't realize how big they were going to be. They're so much bigger than a regular Silverado. Like, they're massive. They are massive.
Hopefully, I think we're actually going to drive a couple of them in Race Across America. So
That'd be cool.
That'd be pretty cool to have those out
so
there
what
and
they're-
actually get them in front of the public more often. And especially, we'll have military people in the car. So let's see what they think about it.
But what they're adding is, I mean, they're calling it something different, but people know the crab walk of the Hummer and the Sierra have it, where all four wheels turn in the same direction. You can just move diagonally.
Other brands have it too. I think Mercedes did it on some of their
Yeah,
vehicles.
but
like
Mercedes
the
has the other things, G-Wagons, where they like
Yeah.
bounce around and stuff like that.
They do cool random stuff that's really not.
I didn't know what the whole hopping thing was for. Like if you're trying to drive through sand in a desert, bouncing
'cause
around
it hops.
adds your weight and takes off the weight of your wheels at the same time. So like if wheels are stuck in the sand, they pop out. I never knew what it was for, and I just thought people just like driving around, just bounce around. But so the Silverado for the 2025 models are going to get the crab walk. They're going to call it the Sidewinder. I don't know if it's Sidewinder or Sidewinder, but that's what they're getting in the 2025. So they're adding the crab walk. I mean, Chevy's calling them something different, but it's the crab walk feature. So
The public knows that as a crab walk, but
yeah, so that's why I don't know why they called it something different, because I highly doubt anyone's really going to call it by that. Most people are still just going to refer to it as the crab walk. Because think about it, the Hummer's been out for a couple of years. It's had it for the entire time it's come out, and that name is all over social media. It's in everyone's household. They know the crab walk name. Like, that's what they know.
Yeah, but other brands even call it a crab walk too.
So I don't know why they call it something different, but it's
It's
definitely
certainly just probably be different, but
it's still going to
certainly
be
it's been
called
good. So
crab walking by
I
everyone.
think that's going to be a cool feature. Do I think a lot of people will use it? No, but if you think about it, it's actually pretty good for moving out of tight spaces and stuff
That's
like
the
that.
idea behind it. Well, they explained one other use for it. I don't remember, but most of it is to get in and out of tight spaces.
Well, it's also like quick 360 turn too.
So now, I don't think most people are driving these things in the city, but like when I tried parallel parking in the Upper East Side,
If someone's bringing this truck into the city,
so I don't think there'll be parallel parking in the city, but even with my car, trying to parallel park when I go to like a doctor's or something, isn't there a pain? Those spots are tight.
if you want some lessons, I'm
I'm
a skilled parallel
The
parker.
idea is you could just like get into a tight space, not have to like do all these turns and whatnot. They just pull out of the tight space. They explain one other thing. It's all about making maneuvers without having to like make
just
all
leaving
these
the truck
annoying
moving forward,
turns.
too.
It is. I mean, it's going to be limited, or not limited. It's going to be standard on the top trim, the RST. But being that they said it's going to be standard on the top trim, that means that you could probably pay for it to get it on lower trim models. So, I mean, granted, they didn't say anything about any pricing to get it on lower trim models, but they worded it as standard on top trim RST. So I would imagine then you could probably pay for it to get it on lower trim models. But your speed is sadly only limited to 20 miles an hour in it, so you
I
can't
mean,
just like
are you really gonna go faster?
you
than
can't
that?
just like drive down the road at like 40 going just completely diagonal. But it's cool what the Silverado is getting at.
And just to talk on it, it's getting some pretty good hype at our stores. We sold a good amount of them. We're actually getting them in now, which is nice.
And we're getting cheaper ones in because the first
Well,
year,
that's what you need to.
because the first year was just, I mean, brands do it all the time. They just release a first edition. It's all about their efficiency in the factories. It's all they had their first model of the year was the first edition RST. So you didn't have a cheaper model outside of that. There was the work truck, but that's for commercial use. Like we can't just sell the work truck to anybody. I don't even think we ever got a work truck to sell to a company. I don't know if Chevy just sells them directly. Like I've seen them in the service, like getting service done to them, but
Yeah, I have to check into that. I know what you're talking about. I'd have to
so
check.
it's WT trim, but it's for commercial use. So I don't know if we actually got to sell them, but so they had a cheaper one, but not for regular consumers. So now there's going to be also cheaper ones like LTs and whatnot. So because the first year they were pricey, but it's just because they only had the one trim, and just the RST first edition. Yeah, so that's what it is with the EV Silverado. It's going to be cool. We should have someone do a demo on it with the first one that comes
About
out.
1,000%.
I don't know where we'll do it, but we're gonna have space somewhere to do a demo.
Yeah, do it somewhere safe.
No, of course it's got to be somewhere safe. And then the other thing with GM, Formula One.
All right, so I mean, I'm a big Formula One fan. It's a little sad that they're not putting Chevy on it, but they're doing their Cadillac. I think that was kind of a response to Ford joining in 2026. But I think it's great for them to get into it. They got this technology.
So I don't know what company they're using their power units from right now, because obviously Formula One, you have to meet. I mean, NASCAR's everything, IMSA is everything. You have to produce like the same power figures and whatnot to make it fair.
Well, yeah, now they're spending caps too.
So I don't know whose power units they're using the first year, but within the next decade, they're going to start building their own in-house power units to use in their Formula One cars. So that's just investment in it.
Consumers, yeah, this is really cool. Like for consumers and stuff like that. Do I wish it was Chevy so we can get some tickets? But we have Ford in there. But so people forget though, the technology they use in these cars, it does drip down and it's great for the brand.
You think so?
Oh yeah. So like Mercedes, they have the AMG and stuff like that. So Mercedes is big on like sharing certain
Oh my
technologies.
God! Wait, you're right. The AMG One uses some. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so there
the
are
AMG One uses
benefits.
technology from it.
There are benefits for these manufacturers getting involved with certain things. Is it crazy? It's not like you're going to get the Formula One.
I was
car
going
in
to say
your-
the
in
AMG One
your
is
car.
an insane car. So
in
it's
your car.
hard to
So there
normalize.
are things that are shared back and forth. It's great for the consumer to see GM put their technology out and see what they can do with the
There's more
car.
Formula One races.
Yeah,
in
it's a
America.
really like eye-opening thing. Like these manufacturers, they could build these phenomenal vehicles that go 200 miles an hour. Like it's pretty wild to see that. Yeah, and they have the technology in there. So it's amazing to see. I mean, I've been to a few races, and I think it's just crazy how these brands can come out and produce these cars. It really gives you hope that the brand has technology and skills to create.
Did you go to either of the
art.
ones that were in the U.S. in the last year?
No, I have not.
Because that's the thing. Think about how many was it? Miami? Was it Vegas? Was the other one?
Yeah, Vegas, they have Texas too.
So now there's more races in the U.S. Now it's actually.
I've been to a couple in Europe. The ones in Canada are pretty cool, but I haven't been to the ones in the U.S.
That's what I think is cool. Is now you're gonna have not just Ford. You're gonna have another actual states brand that's gonna be able to race in the ones that are in America now. You know, I mean, it's
Trying to do their job.
it's still over. You know, we're going in 2025 in a month, so it's gonna be 2026. So it's still over a year away until you'll actually.
It's also
see
super cool knowing like
Yeah.
they're going against brands like Ferrari and Aston Martin and
Who makes Red
Mercedes.
Bull's cars?
So Red Bull creates their own unit, but they have like a partnership with Honda.
Okay.
But yeah, there's like you're going against these phenomenal brands.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
And it's like it's such a cool. Like, did you watch this Netflix series?
No.
Watch it.
What
It's
is
a so it's about Formula One. So it just talks about what goes into every single like race, what goes into these cars, how they have to follow the rules about now there's price caps. They can't just like let Ferrari spend as much as they want to have the best car. There's
All about
like,
making it fair.
yeah, it's like really, really, really awesome.
Okay.
And you're just watching what these guys go through and race and what these companies are doing just to produce these phenomenal machines. I mean, they're pieces of art. They're like absolutely fighter jets that stay on the ground. It's wild.
Yeah, I can.
And I think it's really cool for GM. It's cool for Ford too, being part of it. It's just
forgot
awesome to watch
Ford
them be. Yeah.
Got a contract because they have to get a contract. So I think they're just.
Yeah, well, they
too.
partnered with Red Bull, so they're going to be a
Yeah.
part of the Red Bull team.
Yeah, but they're not just allowed to join. Like GM had to get a.
Oh,
contract.
no, you have to be
They had to
approved
get
and stuff, like,
and they had to
there's-
get the contract from.
Well, I'm
them.
sure there's way more than me and you know that go into it and how much money they have to.
All it
spend.
said was that they were able to get a contract.
I'm sure they're
It didn't
spending
tell me
billions of
what
dollars
was,
to be
but-
in it. So,
Sure.
so there's
sure.
a lot more, but definitely cool for American brands getting involved. I think it's great for the sport, especially that it's coming to America more often, 3
Don't
times
get
a
me
year.
wrong, like yeah, Chevy is heavily involved in NASCAR and whatnot, but NASCAR is not worldwide. Like
No.
Formula One is. Formula One's worldwide, so that's what's cool. Those are the two things for GM was Formula
Some
One.
good
was
stuff.
Toronto.
At the end of the day, do I think Stellantis is going to be coming back? I think that's the main point and focus for
It's
years.
definitely Stellantis.
I think
for
it's.
sure.
I think they're going to push in the right direction. I think it's going to be a great connection now with the dealers. They're going to listen to consumers. They still have phenomenal product. The consumers are going to get better prices going forward, and it's just going to be all around.
Curious on what's going to change for them with the new CEO, with the auto shows coming up with that. I mean, LA is first, but I'm curious on what's going to change.
Well, they haven't named a new CEO yet, so we'll see what
You know
happens.
what I mean, though? Like, they usually have some form of a CEO speaking when they release stuff, so I'm curious on how that's going to change.
Well, the Jeep CEO, like I said, he's legit. So
Yeah, I mean, Hyundai's got a new CEO.
yeah. Well, their Munoz, he moved to World, so
Yeah,
He's-
so. But what I'm saying, Munoz was the guy who was a speaker.
yeah, he might
the
still come
last
speak
2
at that kind of
years,
stuff.
so
Though he
I'm curious on how that stuff changes.
you got to remember. So a lot of these guys that are World, they come to the United States because it's the biggest market in the world. It's the biggest economy in the world. It's where they make their most money, and they need to. It's just our economy is so much bigger than everyone else's that they need to be here, and it's very important for them in this market to sell cars. If they don't sell cars here, they usually don't survive around the world. So.
Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, hit that subscribe button, and follow us at Healey Brothers on all social platforms.